uh, six pack Lapadat. We got Jessica Espinal, and we're just talking about how crazy Junior Worlds has been. So, right off the hop, like, is this what you expected going into Junior Worlds? Is this what the goal was?
Like my performance specifically?
Your performance as well as, the message it sends.
Yeah, because I was pretty unsatisfied with how open worlds went. Because I was like not even a total PR. Like the only thing that I hit PBs on was for me, squat. But then it's like, I don't know. It's just without that total PB, I felt like it looked like the gap was big. It didn't show my full potential when I
Mm.
knew that this performance could have been there a couple months ago.
The big thing with the Open World Championship performance, because of what happened on bench, and then you fell behind, and your bench, like, would you put 7.5 kilos from Open Worlds to Junior Worlds on your bench due to nailing your second and third? I think it was around 7.5 kilos, which
Yes.
is in the
Yeah.
47s. To leave one event like bench with 7.5 more kilos, all of a sudden your final deadlift is different. Like your final deadlift at Worlds, Open Worlds, was like, fuck it, we're pulling for the win. Like, whatever. I want to
Mhm.
ask you about that. But if you miss that final deadlift, it's essentially like you losing your second and third bench and then losing your third dead. So, yeah, your total would be artificially lower
Mhm.
than it really was. It wasn't an indication where your real strength was at. So,
Okay.
anyone watching would be like, oh shit, well, Turbo Tiff is miles ahead. And in your heart, you're thinking, this battle is closer than you guys think. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to get the props I deserve. And it kind of left the door open for people to be talking.
Yeah.
How long? We'll get into open worlds, but was this junior worlds to you? Because for some people, it's people would might think, well, why do junior worlds? Because you're in the open and you're obviously competitive in the open. So is the motivation for doing junior worlds because you wanted the opportunity for the total world record because you knew it was actually on the table and to silence some of these things?
I would say yes. Um, it I told Jason, like jokingly at first, I was like, if I don't win open worlds, I'm going to junior. Right. I also told that to like the team coach, John, and they're like, okay, well, just let us know. And then, when I did end up losing, and especially by like, I don't remember how far apart our totals were, but it was like way bigger than what was projected. Um, I was like, dang, like that really didn't show what I thought I had on the day. Um, and then literally like 1 month out, I told Jason, I'm like, or not 1 month out, but before like we could start a prep, I asked Jason, I'm like, what's the latest we can start a prep for Worlds? Because I'm like debating it. It was like, I don't know, a couple of weeks out. And he's like, oh, okay, maybe August 14th or something. And I'm like, okay, I got you. And then I looked at tickets that night. I bought my tickets that night and I'm like, all right, we're doing this. Like, this is it. Because I felt like I needed to show, um, you know, that my strength was actually way stronger than it seemed in open worlds.
So going into this, you knew in your heart of hearts, like, was it the open world record that you were going for, or was it just like, you know, obviously you felt like you had more, but did you really think the open world record was on the table? You're like, no, I am up there like that. I
Yeah.
am neck and neck with Turbo Tiff.
Yeah, we knew it was there. I mean, if you saw bench, that third
Yeah,
flew. And so we
right.
know we have like a good few kilos here and there.
And so leading into well, first off, okay. So we'll double back a bit, talk about open worlds again. Just to wrap that up. So when you're going into the final deadlift, for you, is it? you were pulling for the win regardless. Like, how did that conversation go? Was it literally load up for the win? I'm not gambling my silver medal. I pull for the win. Because that was a
Mhm.
monstrous final pull attempt.
Yeah, so after we saw that the standings are kind of set in stone and we knew we couldn't lose our placing with our third whatever we loaded up, it was like kind of a split decision, like split second decision, I guess. Because normally Jason doesn't really like, going for those Hail Mary attempts and stuff. As he says, there's only one day you can become a world champion. And then there, Matt Gary looked at me. He's like, "What do you want to do? Do you want to load it up?" And I was like, I kind of hesitated, but I'm like, why not try?
Well, look,
And
yes, sir, go ahead.
I mean, tried it. I did, and
Well, here's the thing. At the very least, you loaded up and went for it. And you got to peek around that corner and get the answer. I
Mhm,
say this because the most notable instance where I've seen somebody with the potential to load up for the win, the world championship, and you know how hard that is,
mhm.
or load up for something else, whether it's securing silver or whether it's securing a deadlift world record. And I don't know if you were watching powerlifting back in 2018. Were you do you remember that world championships?
I was getting into powerlifting like that year, so
Okay,
probably
okay.
not.
Okay. So in 2018, in the 63 kilo class, Sam Calhoun was facing off with Jen Thompson, USA versus USA. And
Mhm,
Sam Calhoun had an opportunity to pull for the world championship or pull for, I believe it was a world record deadlift.
mhm,
And quick discussion, you got 60 seconds. She didn't pull for the win. She pulled for something else, a different goal. And I'm pretty sure it was a world record, which is huge. That's great, but didn't pull for the win. Now you tell yourself, I'm young. There'll be another world championship. I'll pull for the win next time, but I think it's a little out of reach. I think a little lighter was the world record. So let's go for that.
mhm,
And I'm going to fact check myself in a second here. I'm going to pull this up just to make sure. So that people in my DMs, it's been a hot minute. But as time unfolds, we'd then find out there was no next time. 2019, a monster out of Italy named Carola Gara. You heard of her? She ended up being pretty good. Won the
mhm.
world championship. Also in 2019, World Championships, the emergence of Leah Bavwa. Heard of her? She's pretty good too. And she emerged in 2019. And then since then, the 63 kilo total that's been winning the World Championships has exploded beyond anything we had previously thought. Now we're well over 550, let alone in 2018, it was just around 500 that was winning the World Championship. These doors of opportunities close. And as you look back, that was it. That was the deadlift. That was the last one. Tomorrow's not promised. So your decision to be like, I want to answer that question. I'm pulling for the win. So I don't have to live my life being like, fuck, what, was that the one? Even if you miss, you can be like, I pulled for the win. I was there. I pulled for the win. So
Right.
now that you look back, like, is there any other way? Would it have made you feel better to pull less, got a bigger total, but you're not pulling for the win?
No, I'm secure in the decision I made that day. I knew the risk. You know, there was only one day I could have done that. Um,
Right.
and I'm usually not allowed to, go off the wall. So it was a nice rebellious thing. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun.
It was a nice rebellious thing.
Yeah.
So, look,
Not on the plan. Not at
no,
all.
didn't think I'd be pulling that on that day. But
No.
what the hell? And in going to open worlds, was there any kind of injuries or were you like 100%?
Um, I don't know. I don't think there was like any issues. Um, let me check. Let me check. Me just
The mental
thinking.
Rolodex? I
I'm
got you.
pretty,
Look,
I'm pretty sure that maybe like one of my shoulders would act up every so often, but like that's normal and it's like easy to fix.
I'm
Yeah, so no notable like injuries or anything like that.
did you have to do any kind of like did you change your prep at all in between open worlds and junior worlds?
Oh no. This is like the exact same thing. So just
I mean,
imagine,
there's almost no
like,
time, right?
yeah, no. And especially because I started really late.
Yeah, well, I guess like what were you doing before you made that decision? You must have been still lifting, obviously, but just
Yeah,
not as turned on, I guess.
yeah, we had just started like our off-season-ish block, and we are like 2 weeks into it. So it was like still relatively like new. So there wasn't any significant like I don't know, progress being thrown off or like anything like that. Like it came right at the right time.
Okay, I just pulled up the 2018 World Championships because I wanted to fact check myself.
Mhm.
Um, so the total that won is 492.5. Holy shit. 492.5 won the 63 kilo class in 2018. That's wild to even say. And Sam Calhoun ended with 489. So she pulled for the world record deadlift and opted not to add 3.5 kilos, which is, I mean, she got that deadlift. 3.5 kilos, maybe she wouldn't have got. But again, for 3.5 kilos, you find out that's
Yeah,
the cost. I don't know.
that's true.
It's a tough decision. I would say you made the right decision to do what you did, but yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, what were so going into junior worlds? The you wanted the number one position for the 47s. Do you feel now vindicated now that you take the number one spot? Are you still hungry with it? What's your feeling coming out of the junior world championships?
Coming out of it, I was ecstatic. Like I still am. I was riding a high for like days. I was so happy because I finally feel like satisfied with the performance that I had. I feel like all these performances, like in the past, even though like let's say I went 9 for 9 or example worlds, like I went 6 for 9, which was my worst meet ever, I think. Like I've never gone anything less than 7 for 9 until then. Um,
Mm.
like I was just or I am so happy that it finally showed up and I finally showed that like, hey guys, like this is not a weight class that's just dominated by one person. Like there's somebody else coming, you know? Um, and I mean, I don't know, I couldn't ask for more on the day because, we had our plan, we just stuck to it. It's basically the same thing that we were planning on doing at Open Worlds. Um, but I am still left being like, what if we would have loaded something more on bench or something like,
Junior worlds?
yeah, on at Junior Worlds. And, you know, I mean, we had to play it safe too, because I also didn't have a reason to risk any lifts, missing any lifts.
Mm.
Hmm.
And because of the factor of the bench press these days with the possibility of bench depth, et cetera, you almost just got to play it relatively safe. Like you got more in the tank, but you never know which way these calls are going to go.
Hmm.
How do you
Exactly.
feel about the calls with the bench depth? Like when you walk into the bench press event at an international competition, are you confident you know what's asked of you in terms of standards? Or are you like, I'm not sure. Let's see what the day brings.
Well, I was confident at Worlds, and you see what happened there. Um,
Right.
and then this time around, I was like, well, it is what it is. We'll see. I'll just adjust if I need to.
It's nerve wracking because you don't know. You're like,
Yeah, I don't.
I might be right in the hunt, neck and neck with Turbo Tiff, or I might fall way back. It's
Right.
like it's very difficult. Did you even leading into junior worlds, did you make any adjustments? Or were you like, look it, I felt like I was meeting the standard. Let's see what today brings. And you kind of kept it on the same.
No, no, we changed some things. So actually, like two, no, maybe not 2 weeks out. Like a month out, I went to Canada, and I had the privilege of
Um,
having an in-person training session with Jason, and we reviewed my bench because we had a heavy SBD day that week. So we went ahead and like made adjustments, as he calls it, the bench walkout. Um, he like posted a video on it on Instagram. Y'all could go check it out. It's actually pretty informative and it's like pretty unique because you would think like, squat has your walkout or whatever, deadlift you have your setup. But like I don't know if anybody really talks about bench and doing the same thing there. Um, but we did, and it led me to one, not overarch, which is I think my biggest issue because my back is just naturally flexible. Like it'll just,
hmm.
turn into a rainbow real quick, right? But I have trouble controlling that because, it's just wants to be in that position and then my ribs get in the way. So we had to, change our foot position and like make sure that was set up first before I did anything else. Um, brought myself down under the bar, like got set up to where the bar's like right at my chin and to unrack it myself, things like that. All the minor, minor details, but it clearly had a good payoff. And I'm actually hitting like better depth than I was at open worlds.
So is Jason actually the main coach of yours now?
Yeah. Well, I
Because
mean,
it
Tori
was
is
Tori before, right? Is it
Tori,
Tori and Jason's?
it's both of them, yeah. They've
Oh,
always
gotcha,
been,
gotcha, gotcha.
yeah.
I mean, how nice is it to have a freaking team? You basically got a team behind you.
Oh, I know. And then I have like the PTs and Dom and Emily, and literally the whole rest of TSG as well, because I do talk to all the other coaches. So it's like a
Right,
little
pull,
community. It's so nice.
right. Well, here's the benefit of that is if you work as a team, you can problem solve together on very actually because Tori's a big bencher. I remember her at Junior Worlds as well. Like Tori's got a bench on her, so she probably knows. But in terms of with the bench rule, how much has your technique for bench changed? Like you just went over a bunch of things just right there, even. But even previous to that, you were under the bench rule. Like, is your bench, because we're seeing a lot of bench presses, and I was telling you before we went online, Alba's coming on, but a lot of bench presses initially dipped,
Mhm,
initially, and
mhm,
now they're starting to come back up.
mhm,
Alba's bench dipped, and now Alba's bench is Meg Scanlon. Like some of these ladies, their benches are starting to return to pre-bench rule weights.
mhm,
Do you find like you're starting to hit back where like, look, at my bench hasn't dipped at all. We're starting to hit a stride. If not, I know you had more kilos than you showed on the platform, but are you confident where look at bench rule or no bench rule? I'm going to be right back where I was. And having said that, do you think the range of motion's changed? Do you think your strength has gone up? Like, what would you account for that?
Um, due to all the big changes that we've had to make, my bench did initially take a dip, and now it is back to what it was pre-bench rule. Like, I was hitting 100 pretty regularly pre-bench rule, and now, I mean, I can move it pretty easily
Hmm.
still too. Um, and I would say I would attribute that to a lot of building the muscle areas that were lacking previously. Because of course, when you have like a super high arch bench where you literally just have to like bend your elbow that much, like that's not doing anything for your pecs or, your upper body at all. So, we would do machine chest press, I think, which is our key. And that really like helped me like, strengthen my pec muscles, make me be more comfortable with getting lower, all that. Um, and yeah, I attribute it to accessory work.
So you literally just leveled up in terms of your pressing power.
Yeah. So I would say if I were to go back um to like pre-bench roll, I would be pressing like 110. One second.
That'd be a absolutely monstrous 47 kilo bench press if you could hit 110.
I
But
think,
I mean you should just while out and do it in the gym.
yeah, so Jason actually had given me permission this week to like max out my bench. And I was like,
Or
so I'm saving it for tomorrow. So we'll see.
Do you ever go back to pre-bench roll setup in the gym just to see where you're at? Or are you like, look at man, I got the, you do? Okay. Like, oh, hell yeah. I was gonna say, do you like, I don't need to know. It's just almost like a tease, but whatever. Post it up, let the haters come if those on Instagram don't like it.
Yeah, I I should I should post it.
Why not?
Yeah, I do sometimes just to revisit like how my technique was because it was so like all my lifts are pretty technical, but bench is like just on a different level of technique that I had to be like specific with every little movement I did in my setup and everything. So yeah, we'll see.
Moving forward, do you think so? What does the future look like for you then? With this, what are you hoping to accomplish with this performance you just put up?
Um, I think it's pretty obvious, you know. There's
It was a layup question.
there's still a few wild card spots left, and
Right.
I'm waiting on a message from Pete. So,
Either which way. Well, look at, I'm telling you, in terms of, so on the surface, people would say, what do you guys like? If you clash twice with Turbo Tiff,
Mhm,
and honestly, I believe like previous clashings don't show what the full potential and how close this rivalry is.
mhm.
Now, you could literally raise your hand and say, excuse me, I respect the fact that Turbo Tiff is the reigning world champion, but I am the reigning number 147. As a matter of fact, I have the biggest total in 47 kilo history. So while you could say, with no disrespect to Tiff, you could be like, look at,
Yeah.
she has 4 world titles. She could be, and let me get your opinion on this. She could be the most decorated 47 internationally, but you have the strongest 47 kilo performance of all time. That's kind of, ooh, we got a big of a debate here. We need to settle, huh? You
Yeah,
have the most decorated 47, but somebody else has the biggest 47 performance of all time. That doesn't sit right, does it? You
right.
have the reigning world champion, but she's not number one in the weight class. And
Mhm.
then people could say, but Tiff did that at IPF Worlds and the standards really high at IPF Worlds. And then you could say, excuse me, pardon me, mine was also at IPF Worlds. Same standards.
True.
Same. So we have ourselves a bit of an argument that
Mhm.
needs to be settled. So on the surface, if I look at the different potential matchups on the women's side, I don't know, is this the closest?
I would say so because I don't think anybody else has broken an open world record so far, and that hasn't or isn't already going to Sheffield.
Hmm.
Which I would say, I mean, this is the first time Tiff has had opposition too, like very close. Like you said, 4 times world champ. I've been up against her twice and I've lost both times. So just imagine like now somebody is starting to get ahead or close the gap, as we would say. Like,
You passed the gap, actually. You're ahead. The gap is on the other side now.
see, I don't like to talk my shit like that on online
Oh,
because I 422 is not easy peasy.
I like how you go, I don't like to talk my shit. Followed it up with, I got to talk a little bit of shit, though, huh?
Well, I am, like 433 and a half sounds way better than 422.
100%. Look, you and Turbo are the only two 47s in history to go 430 and up.
Right.
And looking at both you guys, she's a junior as well.
Hmm.
How, well, first off, initially they were talking about Turbo Tiff going to Junior Worlds. Did that at all come into consideration on your end, whether or not you were going to go? I think she initially appeared on the nominations, but as a 52 or something. But that was super duper brief. So I don't know what the situation there was. But if she was going to Junior Worlds, and you were still unsure whether or not you were, would that have impacted your decision? Like, well, if she's going shit, I think I definitely am. And when she wasn't, it became kind of a question whether or not you wanted to or not. And then follow up would be obviously if she's going 52, would you ever consider 52? Or you'd be like, look, I don't care what I'm not going there.
Um, I'll say that whenever I signed up, she was still on the nominations. So it wouldn't have changed anything because for me, it was like me fighting against my own bad performance, right? Um,
Mhm.
and of course, with the same time, like having upping her record as a goal, right? So I don't think it would have changed anything if she would have still been going. I probably would have still gone too. And 52s, I mean, like I still don't fill out 47s. So I just don't think that's realistic for me to aim for, especially when I'm doing so good at a low body weight. Yeah. And I don't have to cut. Like it's easy. Like
You don't cut at all. You just walk in like you've no water cut, nothing. Wow.
no, no. Yeah. They People got to see that this week because I've been eating like every day. And they're like, "Aren't you competing in a couple days?" I'm like, "Yeah."
We're all good.
Is there an issue?
So that there might be, I mean, depends. I don't know if you'd want to do this because water cutting and whatnot can impact the performance negatively, but the more you weigh, there's a reason why there's weight classes. Put it this way. So if you're a heavier human being, as we see in powerlifting, the weights get a little heavier. Do you think you will grow into the 47s to a point where you cut a little bit? I know Turbo Tiff back in the day didn't cut, and she's naturally weightlifting. The side effect of weightlifting, you put on muscle mass, and now she cuts. And I don't know if it's a crazy cut, but she definitely cuts, but the weight's moving up. Do you ever think about putting on some muscle mass and be like, or I don't know what that looks like. Do you count calories and ever make a plan of let's bulk a little bit and see what happens?
I do. And I actually did that this summer because, like I said, I was kind of unsure of going to Worlds until like kind of last minute.
Right.
So I did kind of do that on the Canada trip. Um, but yeah, I'd imagine that one day it'll come that I have to cut into the weight class. And I mean, that's a challenge I'm ready to face, even though I've never really done it before. I've done a gut cut like years ago, but like, you know, I'm never water cut or water loaded, any of that. So
Mhm.
that would be interesting to do. I'd hate to do it, but if I have to be competitive, why not?
It's not fun, but it's doable. It's
Right.
not, it becomes when you're going through it, you just tell yourself, this is part of my job. It's just
Hmm.
part of it. This is all part of it. I remember at one point I was doing a water cut. And that's exactly what the guy that was doing my nutrition did told me is this is just part of it. There's no sense complaining or feeling feelings about it. It's just part of the process. You have to buy your ticket. You have to go through customs. You have to show up. You have to do all the check-in and all the rest of it. This is the last pieces of it. And it's just part of the game. And you just do it. And don't
Right.
think no ways around it. And if you're doing this without any kind of cut, because Turbo's cutting, imagine who knows what more extra kilos rest in your total when you get a little bit, you're a bigger human being.
Mhm.
Who knows? You still have that wild card to play. If you're like, we need some more kilos on the total, maybe I got to become a little bit bigger of a human being. I don't know. But
That's true. I mean, in the past, we've seen, well, when I was a 52, as I lost weight, my lifts only got better.
mm,
So for me, it's like, I don't know. I mean, now at this point, I do think it would probably benefit me to like, you know, add a little weight onto my body just because I'm at a point where, I probably need to, like, non-negotiable, right? If I want to stay competitive and I want to keep, doing what I'm doing. Um, but at the same time, like I know, leverage has changed. These few centimeters here worry, not
they,
worry.
they change up
They
on you.
change everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Like look
So,
how much work you did into perfecting your bench. I
mhm,
don't know, like maybe nothing changes, but maybe if you put on a kilo and a half of body weight, Imagine having to retool your bench all over again, which maybe it's part of it. You did great retooling between open worlds and junior worlds, but it is one of those, frick, I don't know how much you have to restart if it's just minor. But you're right, like some things do change. And also, previously when you're 52 was one thing, but you're a different animal now. Like
Yeah,
you are way stronger now. Your nervous system is like not even close. So it's kind of, you dropped weight, the weight in your total went up, but your total was going to go up regardless. You know
right.
what I mean? Like there might
Yeah.
not be a correlation anyways, what I mean, like dropping weight going up. Like I do think if you go up in weight now, your total is going to go up. But it's one of those, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Who do you think between you and Turbo, who's going to be the first to cross 440?
Oh, I have not thought about that. That's
See, most powerlifters, as soon as they cross 430, they're looking 440. Or they're like 440s around the corner.
well,
I,
for me, as soon as I hit that total, I was like, damn, we gotta chase 450.
oh,
Like, I
you like 440. That's light
was like
work.
440,
We can go
what?
for, yeah, you were beyond that. Yeah. You were like, when it's 500 falling. That's what I want to talk about. When it's 500
Okay.
kilos drop. Right.
Yeah, but man, I have no idea who will hit that first, but like it'll be well deserved because like we've said, we're like neck and neck now, right? Um, and we're just gonna be pushing each other to do this, which is like such a blessing because who else has this close of a battle? I mean, yeah, there's some people who do, but like in the 47s, I
Mm.
don't think we've ever seen this
No,
close of a battle ever.
this is what I want to ask you about as well about the 47s.
Mhm.
Back in the day, um, Wei Ling Chen, who was a gold medalist in the Olympics, like an Olympic gold medalist in weightlifting, was the IPF world champion in the 47s. And she posted up 407.5 back in 2015. And she was so far ahead of the rest of the ladies, it wasn't even close. Okay.
Mhm.
After that, like it took, I think it was 2021 for until like Heather Connor took 408, did 408. So 6 years, and records don't last 6 years. Like records don't last 6 months. Records don't last in your case like a little over 6 weeks, huh? You know what I mean? Where like it's crazy what's happening right now. And we thought that was huge at the time. And it is a big total. But now you are far past that. Turbo Tiff is far past that in the 430s. Oh, hey, Lee from Canada actually has already gone past that. Some of these ladies are going past that in the 47s. Why do you think the 47 kilo class is jumping up in terms of the totals we're seeing so much right now? What do you think is happening with the 47s? What do you attribute this rise in terms of the talent pool in the 47 kilo class?
We got the big dogs here. The big dogs in the smallest little boxes.
That's right. That's right. Not figuratively or literally, I mean.
I have no idea what could maybe be causing the rise of the 47s. I'm thinking maybe like you said, the record had been standing for years. Nobody has been able to break it or like, you know, come close to it maybe, but like that's it. That's a big thing to go after, especially after somebody's
Mm,
record has been standing for 6 years and then
yeah.
breaking them and continuing to do so. Like, yeah, I think that's probably what's motivating a lot of us. And I mean, that's what motivates me now. That's what got me here, breaking the record. Like, yeah.
Also, to an extent, women that size, like 105 pounds or whatever, when you're coming through as an athlete, I want to ask you how you found powerlifting, but a lot of 105-pound women walking this world initially aren't going to tell themselves, I think I have a future in strength sports. I think weightlifting and strength sports is my avenue. They're probably told most of their lives like the opposite in terms of, and you might not have even known that there was an avenue available because it's not the first thing at the forefront of your mind. I'm strong. I'm this, that, the other. If you're a 100-pound woman. But now that with the rise in popularity of powerlifting, period, just period, powerlifting is exploding right now with like Sheffield. The World Championships is way different than it used to be. It's way more entertaining. The the live experience isn't even close to what it used to be. It's so packed now that, and with Instagram and social media and TikTok and YouTube and all the rest of it, ladies who are 100 pounds walking around are going to see somebody like you, see somebody like Turbo Tiff, and see, man, that's like me. That she's the same size as me. She's moving ridiculous weights. That's possible. And see 1,000 people in the crowd cheering you on, and thousands and thousands and thousands of views on all these videos all over the place. And be like, oh my God, this is 100%. Previously, 10 years ago, how would you wouldn't even think that off the forefront of your head, and how would you even find it? Like I don't know. So how did you find powerlifting when you first found it?
I was still in high school. I think I was a sophomore or a junior, and there was a friend who was on the powerlifting team who was in one of my classes. And they were like, "Hey, you should come check out like the powerlifting team." And I'm like, "What is that?" You know, they explained it. They're like, "We need somebody who's like a really lightweight class. You know, you should show up because you're like the smallest person I know." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Damn, calling me
If you're a
thick."
dude, you'd be like, well, first off, go fuck yourself
Yeah,
with
and I
that
was
last line.
and I was like, I mean, okay, I'll try, right? And I went, and the first time I didn't like it. Like I was like, maybe this is not for me. And they're like, it's okay, come back whenever like the whole team is like here and we'll like start to get started with the season. Maybe you'll like it when there's like more of us. And I was like, okay. So I went back and I did end up liking it. So I stuck with it. And yeah, now we're
It was
here.
literally there was an opening on a team. They didn't have somebody your size. And they're
Yeah,
like,
they didn't.
were you, were you, were you prepped? First off, that story is adorable. Were you prepped for that? Like what you're about to experience when you showed up for your first competition? Do you realize what was about to happen? Or are you just like, this could be fun?
You know, for me, it was like I'm always down to try something new. I love a good experience and new adventure. Um, when I got thrown in that squat suit and those wraps, I could just remember the first time I was like my knees were all bruised, like from the front and back, and I'm like, y'all do this for fun? Like,
There's nothing enjoyable about this.
yeah, I was like, these wraps hurt. Like, I can't walk. But I mean, then it ended up being fun, and I really like getting wrapped. And I was like, try to make me cry. Yeah, I ended up like liking the whole experience. I would have like bruising and cuts on all my legs from all the suits and stuff.
And when you first got into it, did you, so what year was this?
Mm, like 2018, like late
Okay,
2018.
okay, yeah. All right. And so when you started getting into it, did you dive in and start following certain people on powerlifting, or did you start like investigating and realizing, oh, okay, and what was the goals initially?
Yeah, it's like you said, how like people, normal women who walk um, around my weight class and don't lift per se, they see this content and they're like, I could do that. That's my weight. Like I weigh that right now, right? That's kind of how it happened with me. But at the time, um, Heather was pretty much dominating the US. So I was looking at that and I'm like, dang, like she weighs, and at the time she also was closer to 44 anyway. Um, and I was like, she's like 100 pounds, sometimes less, and like deadlifting like close to 200 or 190. I don't remember what she was doing at that point. Um, but that's how I saw things. And I'm like, dang, I want to be that one day. Once I was like kind of into the sport more. And then I think like I've mentioned before, like I also followed a few influencers like Steffi Cohen. Sorry, I laugh because of the recent events. Anyway, Maddie Forberg.
Because of the recent events. But
Yeah,
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 that
like
it's
Maddie
a
Forberg
whole
and
nother
like
2 hour long power podcast.
yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
know. And then like you said, Sam Calhoun and people like that who were like big deadlifters or just like smaller weight classes, but like dominating at the time. I was just like, dang, like I could see myself wanting to do that, wanting to be that. And I
Mm.
mean, I could say I think I've achieved it so far. It's not where I want it to be, but I've achieved it. I'm at that level.
Yeah, well, unquestionably, you got the biggest 47 kilo total of all time. I think another big reason why your class has become more popular and we see more ladies rising up is because there is competition. Like you
Mhm.
you mentioned previously when Heather was winning, and even Weiling Chin, there was no they won by huge spreads. It wasn't close. When you watch sports, you need to not know who's going to win.
Right,
You need like why do you watch a movie when you know the ending? Why do you watch a game like any game? You can't sell tickets to a basketball game when you know one team's going to win by like a 30-point spread. It's like
right.
you can't give those tickets away. You got to be the hardest of hardcore fans. In the 47 kilo class, thank God you're emerging. And despite the fact that Turbo Tiff is a 4-time world champion, which is ridiculous, but it's closer than people think. As a matter of fact, you've now pulled ahead. We need this for the 47s. Is it still weird for you to hear that?
Yeah, it
For you to
is.
hear?
It's just
Really?
like, I don't know, I still can't like fully wrap my head around me having the highest total. Like it's still like so recent. I'm
Period.
like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know why. It's just like, dang, I'm that big, that dog.
Ah, you say it. Say it with your chest out. You were about to.
I
You
have to
were you
censor
about to?
myself. There's probably kids watching.
Oh, all right. What? Sure. You were about to go. I'm that bitch. Yeah. Okay. I got you. You deserve it. And how old are you now? Because you're still a junior.
Yeah, I'm still 22, which this is why I'm kind of sad about the IPF rule about how you age out the year you turn 23. Because I'm literally not 23 yet. I turned 23 in November, like late November.
Mm.
But I age out anyway. Like, okay. I mean, it is what it is. Not like I compete in junior anyway, but it was fun and it was a great experience. Like having the opportunity to compete at two world championships in a year. It
Mm.
was pretty nice. Like redemption round.
If you were, yeah, I mean, perfect for that. And to have IPF world standards, so nobody could, in terms of
Right.
people, yeah, talking about lifts or whatever. It's like, no, it's IPF worlds. Say less. Everybody knows how difficult IPF standards is. What do you think about? Because Jad Jacob initially was signed up for Junior Worlds, and she made a post. I forget what it was, some kind of injury, health issues, anyways, forced her off. But what do you think about the reigning open world champion going to Worlds? Just for you, it totally makes sense.
Mhm.
You have an opportunity for redemption, a second opportunity to obviously set the world record, go into number one position. I mean, it was the, you know, I don't got to convince you it was a good idea.
Mhm.
But if you're the reigning open world champion, you're already the world champ. You almost only have something to lose. Like you almost only can lose. Because if you win, it's like, well, I hope you won. You're the reigning world champ. Like you're not getting a higher title than you already have. But if you lose, the risk to reward ratio seems extremely off.
Mhm.
Unless like Jad was moving up a weight class to 57s had she competed. Kind of see there where you might be like, look, I just want to see what happens at an IPF world stage without cutting weight. On the flip side, so she, instead of a 57, was moving up to 63. Alba Bostrom would have been waiting for her with 554.
Yeah.
That's probably out of reach for what Jad would be putting up, I would assume. So the reigning world champ goes up a weight class, gets to see new territory, but might fall short. I don't
Mhm.
know. What do you think? What do you think about this? Because I was kicking around in my head whether or not I would have done it.
If it were me, I probably wouldn't have. Like I said earlier, I only made that decision because I was like, I lost. I didn't have the meet I wanted. I went 6 for 9, like, be for real. Um, but if you're the reigning world champ, maybe you just wanted to. try something different. Maybe something felt a little off, even though you literally won, right? But like everybody has their own standards, their own point of view. Like people see my meet and they're like, oh, like you're doing great, like you're still runner up and stuff. But
Hmm.
I'm like, no, like I went 6 for 9. I did this. You nitpick yourself. Maybe she was doing the same thing. Maybe she's like, oh, what if I would have, done this change and it would have made this slightly better? Or um, let's try a different strategy for our prep. Maybe I was too fatigued for this lift by the end of the competition, or maybe my refeed wasn't as great. Maybe I just don't want to cut and see where I'm at strength wise if I
Yeah, yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of different factors that I think could go at play, especially knowing like how critical I am of myself and my performances. I'm sure everybody at the top is probably that way in some sort of capacity.
Think, yeah. I mean, if you're the reigning world champ a weight class below, you're not at least putting that in doubt. Like, put it this way: if Turbo Tiff showed up, and let's say as a 47, and she didn't have like you beat her head up, that's a weird conversation. You have two world champions, one's open, one's junior, but you won more recently, and now the taste in her mouth is totally different from here on out. Like, did she feel like the open world champ? Then it becomes, ah, shit.
Right.
What the you would risk that? And you guys are so tight neck and neck. It's a for really real opportunity. It's a threat. However, if you go up a weight class, at least you could say, I'm just going to max out. I'm going to have some fun, and I'm the world champ a weight class below, so we're all good.
True.
The
Yeah.
the difference is Jad could do that because Natalie Richards isn't there. But
Mhm.
what if Turbo did that and you out totaled her a weight class below? Like even that would be disastrous.
Mhm.
It would
Uh,
be like, oh, what the fuck? Like you can't, it can't happen. It would be
yeah.
terrible. You like that's why I think Turbo being like, no, thank you is a good idea. There's no winning this.
Right. Yeah. There
There's
isn't any.
there's no upside to that.
Mhm.
But I think we have to settle this. We have to sort this out. Has there
I'm
been any talk? Like, was there any reach out by Turbo Tiff when you broke that world record?
no.
Ooh, she's fierce. She's a fierce competitor. How are you guys?
Yeah. How
You,
are we? What do you mean?
yeah.
Like,
Like in terms of when you see each other, is there some people talk? Some like I know Russ and Jurens, like Russ was on Jurens' podcast. Russ and Jurens talk. Now, Russ will straight up say, day of, like we could be cool because it's off season. Afterwards, Russ literally congratulated him and was like, whatever. We did a photo op together and did like a showdown because they're going to show down at Sheffield and did pictures like that together. And like he'll play the game.
mhm.
But day of, Russ is like, we're not cool. We're cool every other day. That's fine. Day of, we're not cool. You see me in the warm up room. I mean, take it however you want. You could say it's personal, whatever, but this is how I get my shit together. I need to, you're not. How are you when it comes to day of? And how do you feel the relationship is with Turbo Tiff? Because I know the relationship I see with Turbo Tiff, like just myself and Turbo around in France, she's a feisty little competitor. She's a feisty one.
For me, I would say I see it as kind of the same way as you said, Russ described it. Like on game day, I'm going to be locked in. Like I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to look at you. I'll congratulate you maybe after your lifts or like after the competition as a whole. But like while we're competing in those few hours, don't talk to me. But outside of it, I've reached out to her a few times. Sometimes I like get left undelivered, which is fine. But I try to be supportive because I would have loved to have like a competitor that like, we're neck and neck that you get along with because not everything is like powerlifting. Like it's not your whole life. Like it's okay to be friendly but still see somebody as an op. Like it's okay. Like it doesn't take anything to be nice. So that's what I like to do. And I still like to like reach out to her and stuff, even if I know I won't get a response back. But like, yeah.
Well, historically speaking in powerlifting period, has it been, do you feel it's more like that? Like I think to a certain extent, some people will have comments on this, won't fully appreciate the difference between a local level and a world's level. And
Mhm.
things definitely change when you're on podcasts like you are, when you're in all these hype videos leading up to a big event, if it's Sheffield, Worlds, whatever, there's sponsorship on the line. There's hundreds of thousands of people watch
Mhm.
Sheffield, watch the World Championships. This is on CBS, Eurosport, where millions of people are going to watch.
Mhm.
It is going to be different. And you're having legacy and you're having things can very much change with a single win.
Mhm.
So I don't think people can fully appreciate what it might feel like when you're at that level. And you might be like, look, it nothing against you personally, but some people can't. They can't be like friendly like that. What do you
Yeah.
find? What have you felt in terms of powerlifting? Like, can you be friend? Are people in different weight classes different with you? Because whatever, we're not in the same weight class.
Um, yeah, I would say like any beef that I've had, it's like not been like powerlifting specific, like, oh, you're in my weight class, like I hate you. Like, no, it's always been like outer circumstances, then just being brought in. So I would say, I mean, it doesn't really affect me. To me, I always see somebody like as a lifter, I respect them as a lifter, with Tiff, like she's great. She's an amazing lifter. I respect her. I know she works hard. Um, and I'm gonna acknowledge that. Like I'm not gonna just throw that aside, right? Just because she beat me and be like, oh, like she's a no, like she doesn't suck. Like she's great. She's awesome. Um, I can see the difference. I can be friendly. I would rather have a friend that we're like, I don't know, competing against each other instead of like somebody that I hate. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Because then you can like laugh it off after or like talk about it and, all is good. I don't know.
You were out.
There's no reason for me that I see that would benefit me to have like somebody that I dislike competing against me.
You were out after IPF Open Worlds with like Penna, who's Tiff's coach, Leah, like that's the keep, right? Out
Mhm.
afterwards, joking around till like 5 o'clock in the morning, just like
Yeah.
shooting shit, being like, whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I believe you. Do you think it might change if you win the open world title and people are trying to take your title? Because when you're on the way up and you're trying to take what someone else has, it might feel different. Whereas if you have the title, you're at the top and people are trying to take what's yours. Do you think that might change the way you feel about it?
No, because it's kind of happened before, I will say, not on an international level, but like on a national level. People start to move differently once you're at the top. But
Mm.
all you can do is like, continue to be nice to them and, it is what it is, right? If they want to see you a certain way or not, it's not up to me. That's all on them because I'm unbothered.
Think, yeah, for sure, if you're on the way up and you're not super close, people will be different. If you are close or you become the number one, yeah, it'll be different. People
Yeah.
are looking at it like you have what I want. And it's a target on your back. It's difficult when you're number one because everybody's looking at you. Do you start to feel now that people have things changed a little bit, or you're not sure yet?
I could feel it. Yeah, definitely.
We'll wait till the next competition.
But we'll see.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's also with the women's side, there's a big maturation in terms of like talent pool with like more and more women competing since like back in the day. Like 10 years ago, the amount of women competing in powerlifting wasn't as much. And now that there's far more women competing in powerlifting, almost parity with the men, the talent pool is swelled. So then we have huge outliers entering the women's division. Here's the thing. So people would say that would attribute to this huge influx in terms of the totals we see in the women's side. But Wei Ling Chen was an Olympic gold medalist in snatch, clean and jerk, and Olympic lifting. Obviously, he's definitely an outlier in A-level athlete. People would say, wait until A-level athletes enter powerlifting. Wait until the tip of the spear outliers enter powerlifting because they're not there yet. The talent pool hasn't swelled big enough to actually see those for stats. She was around back in 2015 winning world titles,
Mhm.
an Olympic gold medalist. And so, what does that say for you in Turbo Tiff when you have almost 20 kilos on her total? In terms of the level of athlete you and Turbo Tiff have, do you think about holy shit in a strength sport? Head up, you got almost 20 kilos on an Olympic gold medalist.
That's, I don't know. It's hard to wrap my head around still. Like,
Oh,
it's insane because, Tiff has pushed the record so much since then, right? And then now I feel like now that I'm up with her, it's just gonna be like back and forth, since we're also the same age, like we've said, like we have so much more time to build this. So even just thinking, oh, 20 kilos, like 430, just imagine in like a year or two. Like, what if we push this up like 450s? Like,
you're
you
both
know,
juniors. You're both
exactly.
juniors.
Yeah.
People talk about when let's say some of the if we get recognized by or not recognized by Olympics, but go into the Olympics, and
I
some
hope.
people say, and so yeah, okay, well, you're young enough, you might see it. And some people are say like if these other nations turn on in terms of powerlifting, what that might look like. And you'll see comments saying a lot of your heroes right now won't exist because the influx of talent pool will swell and the people we have now might get pushed out because you'll have like the Olympic level athlete entering. But for you in Turbo Tiff, you would be like, well, come and get some because an Olympic gold medalist, we've surpassed what she can do. We already know, like the tip of the spear, the Olympics could produce, and we already surpassed it. And
Mhm.
in a lot of ways, it's an encouraging, like measuring stick of where our sport is at and where the talent of where our sport is at. It helps because she wasn't an Olympic gold medalist in freaking water polo. It was Olympic weightlifting,
Right.
right? So it's a huge testament to where the 47 kilo class is and like the quality of athlete that you and Turbo Tiff are. Let me ask you this: Who look at you? But it's and I don't think a lot of people know that either. I think that's got to be said more often because some people don't even realize, and some people still go with the narrative of we're not A-level athletes like powerlifters are, and we don't have the tip of the spear. You hear it in the men's side if the NFL guys came over. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think Jesus Oliveira is still rough the shit out of him. I don't think so. But
Right.
you know, I think we're putting some athletes in other sports on pedestals and not realizing what we have. Um,
Mhm.
who do you think is currently the queen of powerlifting?
Like of all time?
First, we'll do current because right now there's tons of discussion on the men's because you could argue, like most people argue Perk, but some people like look at Bob Matthews as a 105 won the 120s. And
Mhm.
then somebody like look at what Rondell did only because Rondell's not there. And then there's Jesus who's like, well, I get left out because I'm a super heavyweight, but pound for pound, I should still be able to somehow be in the conversation. So it's interesting. But on the women's side, who do you think is current?
For
That's a
me,
tough one.
my goat, Agatha Shiko.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I mean, just having the drive, the dedication to, go up a weight class, go down a weight class, and compete at all these weight classes, take all these records in those weight classes, like you got to be a different breed. Like your mind has to be built different to do that. Because I'm over
Mm.
here saying, I don't even know if I'd ever move up to 52. Probably not. Her, she's like, "Oh, give it to me right now." Like, yeah, come on. Like, that's different.
She's so feisty.
Yeah.
And I remember she was cheering Jessica Bittner on in 2022 Open Worlds, and she was like 20. And Jess came out for the final deadlift, hit the biggest deadlift of all time in IPF history to beat Agatha. So Jess was pushed to the limit to
Mhm.
win this showdown. And there was footage of Agatha cheering her on in the front row. All right. People like, oh, isn't that nice? And then pretty sure on one of the podcasts, they asked Agatha about that. So like you were cheering Jess on to beat you and win the world title. Like that was so nice. And Agatha's like, yeah, I was cheering her on because that's going to be the last title she wins. What's gangster? What type of gangster change from heartwarming, wholesome to gangster in a split second? And that's in a lot of ways Agatha because she is like super nice. You meet her in real life, she's like super approachable, super nice. But believe you me, when it comes to competition, full on gangster. And there she's talking about. So in terms of also for pound pound right now, I think you could definitely say Agatha. But all time, people are starting to sway towards Amanda Lawrence due to dominance in weight class, 5 world titles, and just multiple time best lifter at world championships. She's got a bunch, right? She's got it all. And so all time, some people leaning towards Amanda Lawrence. I'll get your opinion on that because it could be anybody. And then pound for pound, it's a bit of a debate. Do people say, well, it's Amanda, well, it's Agatha, well, whatever. But then Agatha was saying she might go up and go head to head with Amanda. Like, how many
mean,
weight classes do you want, Agatha?
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, who thinks like that? I mean, clearly she does, but like, who
It's
would
crazy.
do that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts.
It's
So if she does, cool. Who do you think is the greatest all time?
it probably has to be her. Like,
I mean, I
I
think
don't know if I don't know if there is like a big discussion just because I mean for me I guess I see it as not as how many titles you've won or this and that but how versatile as an athlete you can be and still continue to make progress, still continue to push things beyond what people think is possible. And she has clearly, very clearly shown that. Like, yeah, you can have so many world records and titles and this. Like Amanda, she's also such an impressive athlete. So many of these athletes are, they have a lot of accolades and everything. But who are you thinking about that wants to dominate like 5 weight classes? Like, I don't know. That's just kind of how I see it. Not like not as any disrespect to like anybody, but it's just like you have to be built different to think that way. Like I just want all the weight classes. Like imagine me going up to like 67. Like no. Right? Like
like I remember I was talking to Agatha, I'm like, Agatha, slow down. You're gonna end up being an 84 plus going for some crazy shit. And she is not tall enough. But Agatha is like, if anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be Agatha. She's also super young. Is she still a junior? I can't
I
think
think
she
she's
might
around
be.
my age or maybe a year older. I'm not sure. I think she's around my age. So
It's
maybe.
crazy because Jad is open world champ, still a junior. I mean, it's nuts the women's side, how young the talent pool is. That's what makes hats off to somebody like Megan Scanlon, who's mid 30s, mother of two,
Mhm.
and hitting personal bests.
Right. That is also like impressive in and of itself, like having
Yeah.
to navigate the life of your children while also trying to pursue, your hobby with the sport, trying to further yourself in the sport. I can't imagine like type of shit she goes through.
Oh, because you're a mother. You know, fathers like I'm not saying fathers don't help raise, but not like a mother. Look, I was a kid at one point. Shit hit the fan. I'm going to mom. I get hurt. I'm going to mom. I get in a fight with my
Right.
brother. I'm going to mom. You go
Right.
to mom first. Dad's just the dude that comes in after the fact. Like every now and then he gets dragged in, but
Like,
it's
hey,
your
what's up?
mom. You
Yeah,
know,
it's
it's your mom you're going to.
right.
Yeah, so for sure. And what helps with her, like her husband is all in. He shows up at these events and he's like, he has some afterwards. We're having drinks and talking about the day, and he's like, "Did you see that fucking kid from Poland?" He's like, he loves it. He watches it like a fan, and he's all in on it. He's help like handling the whole nine. So that super duper helps as well. How long do you think you're going to be in the game? Because she's in mid 30s. I mean, this is like in a lifetime later for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 6 years in. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. Um, I think for me, I've already played the long game. It's been 6 years,
Yeah, fair
and
enough.
I don't plan on stopping that. Like, I'm still I'm not just gonna stop just because like let's say I reach 450 or something and I'm gonna be like, all right, I quit. Like I'm gonna always want to go for that little more. And who knows if it'll take like another year to add like 1 kilo to my total, but I'm gonna still do it. So
Mm. It's because you're enjoying the pursuit as opposed to the
I
destination.
do. I do, yeah. Even though it sucks
Somebody,
sometimes.
that's part of it.
But it's
That,
part
that's
of
what makes
that.
that's
Right.
what made Junior World so sweet. Is because you tasted that adversity and you're like, okay, this is what it feels like. All right, good. Now you want a little more.
Yeah, I
I
know.
I seen a quote somebody posted saying, the person who enjoys the journey will walk further than the person who just wants that destination.
Mhm.
Because when you get there, it's never going to be fully what you wanted. That last like what 1 day, and you think it's going to change everything. Whereas like the journey of it all the way up there, that's what fills all of your time.
Right.
So how many world titles are we talking? Are we going to have a reign of terror coming out of you? Turbo Tiff has four. Are we talking the next four are yours? What do you think in your heart of hearts? Or are you thinking, look at, like, obviously you would love four, but is this going to be a back and forth between you and Turbo Tiff for the next foreseeable future?
Oh my God. I would hope it's not a back and forth for my own sake.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
but it probably will be. Who knows, right? But I'd love to have like all five or maybe
You,
10.
you,
All
like, I ain't got to be greedy. In the next 10 years, give me 5 or 6. I need the majority, but Tiff can have a couple. Tiff can
yeah,
have a couple.
that's fine. That's fine, yeah.
That's that's fair enough. And we'll see what happens with the 47s. Listen, I got Alba Bolstrom in 15 minutes. So I got to let you go here. Thank you for coming on. First off, I know timing wise, like I said, I want to hit this when it was hot and get some of the juniors onto the podcast. And in terms of like, as of right now, Nonzo hasn't gone up yet, the 120 from Britain. But as of right now, you're the only one to make the statement you made in terms of breaking the open world record at the Junior World Championships. You got to be the talk of the yeah, exactly. You silence the doubters. I love that you did that, by the way, because there's a lot of people talking, and you silence the doubters. Can you meet the
Yeah, too
standard?
many people talking.
Too many people. Well, you know what? Proof is in the pudding. Proof. People are quiet right now, huh? Success talk pretty loudly. And I can't wait to see what happens, whether it's Sheffield World Games, whatever. Now the rivalry's on.
I know.
Now we're
I'm
talking. Now
so excited.
now they better talk differently, huh?
Mhm.
Now everybody's going to be talking differently, and I wonder what's going to come. And this is only going to push Turbo Tiff. This is only going to push you because
Mhm.
both you guys now are looking eyeball to eyeball.
Yeah,
It's,
that's why I love
but
it because I just
yeah,
know I'm going to be able to do that for years to come.
you're both juniors too. It's
I
not a
know.
disparity where one's 10 years older than the other. So it's like, mm, do you, hey, what's that? That one, but like you see, you guys are going to be going on unless she moves up a weight class,
That's true.
and then it becomes, but someone else will emerge. Who knows? Because you're sticking.
Well, maybe I'll follow her.
But you probably will stick to 47, right? For the
Yeah.
conceivable. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that it would be. I don't know. Who knows? But I just see myself as a 47, like always.
For the foreseeable future, at the very least. I mean, you're 22, but it's going to take a bit. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on so quickly, and
Mhm.
we got to do this again, especially like when the next competition is headed up and we're leading into it. Let's get the drums beating because this is a
Yeah.
good rivalry.
Let's see.
27s are hot right now.
I know.
So everybody listening, please do subscribe as per usual. Give us high ratings, and until next time, six pack Lapadat, six up, and we are out.